Hey everyone, we are packed up in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we're heading down to Charleston, South Carolina for our last Certified Safety Manager course of 2021. We're pretty excited. Got about a 3.5 hour trip ahead of us. Hopefully it'll be a good group. Looks like it's going to be good weather all week, and we're excited. A lot of work in packing for these classes. We just packed up the truck, and at least this one we're not flying. So we're excited and ready to go.
In 2014, NASP introduced the live classroom version of the Certified Safety Manager course. Originally hosted in the NASP home city of Shelby, North Carolina, NASP has expanded the locations to include New Orleans, Las Vegas, Chicago, Orlando, San Antonio, Memphis, Wilmington, and Charlotte, North Carolina, and even Nigeria. Students travel from around the globe to attend this intense week-long training course in workplace safety management. This week's course will be taking place in Charleston, South Carolina.
Hey everyone, after a 3.5 hour trip from Wilmington, we are now in Charleston, South Carolina at the Hilton Garden Inn. We have just finished up setting up the course for the class tomorrow. A lot of work in setting these classes up. Takes us about 2 to 3 hours to get everything right, but that's part of the process, and we're excited about tomorrow morning kicking off bright and early. All right. So today is the beginning of day one. This is pretty exciting. The students are rolling in and starting to meet each other. We've got a big day ahead of us. We learn how to training methodologies. We learn about OSHA compliance. We got a lot packed in the first day, a lot of role playing and fun stuff that they're not expecting. So should make for a good day. We'll keep you posted. I got into environmental, back in the early 90s, and quickly realized that environmental was not my passion. I still do a lot of environmental work. Do I love environmental work? No. Okay. I love safety. Okay. Safety is my passion. So personally, I was basically a private consultant and trainer. So I had my own company doing safety training, a lot for the pharmaceutical industry, a lot for the automotive industry, and been doing that solo for about 12 years prior to coming to NASP. The gentleman who founded NASP, he and I, Tom Harden was his name, were partners back in the 90s. We had a private consulting and training firm called Environmental and Safety Services. I actually left that organization in 2000. I wanted to pursue a career in private consulting and actually being a safety manager at various industries. So I got into, believe it or not, the hog slaughtering business, meat processing business for several years, then moved to automotive and finally ended up in pharmaceuticals for several years doing my own thing. Tom Harden had started the National Association of Safety Professionals in the year 2000. Initially, NASP was really designed as a alternative for individuals who may not have the academic credentials to go for other certifications. You know, in the safety industry, a lot of people who get involved in safety start in an area that's not related to safety. They might be what we refer to as on the tools, or they might be fire department personnel, or they might be military personnel. And it's really a good segue from those industries into safety, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have an academic degree
in that area of discipline.
I have been married 9 years to my wife. We have a 4-year-old, so I'll be 40 next month with a 4-year-old. Yeah, planned,
Welcome to my
over-planned.
world.
That's another thing about safety people, we over-plan sometimes. Let's see what's next on the, I'm originally from southeastern North Carolina, a little town called Mount Olive. You guys might not have been there, but you probably had our pickles. And I work for Smithfield. I actually got into safety operating a skiff for NOAA in a small village in southeast Alaska called Yakutat. I went up there to be a skiff operator and kind of left there with a safety officer role too, and I thought, man, the safety gig's pretty cool. So
NASP provided a foundation for certifications for those individuals that may not have the option for going for other relevant certifications. And they did quite well, NASP did quite well in that initial endeavor to be that alternative. What's the point of this, Norm? What do you think?
It used to be the aged subject matter expert was the instructor.
Right.
Today, it's the person still along that path of learning, but they've got the presentation skills or the desire to teach.
Wow, I love that. I think that's an excellent point of what that slide is trying to illustrate. And that you as the instructor, okay, also learn along the way. And believe me, like I said earlier, I learn a lot from you guys in these classes. Yeah, I think there was struggles with NASP, just like any other company, which is recognition. How do we differentiate ourselves from other safety organizations? And that was always a struggle because in smaller organizations, you don't really have a huge marketing budget like some of our competitors do to really let people know how you're different, how you're better, how you separate yourself from the rest of the organizations that do the same types of things that we do. So initially it was just marketing was really word of mouth, and we gained a really good reputation for a different type of training, the NASP method, we refer to it, which again is the training with adult training methodologies, really focused on how is safety training relevant to the people who are taking the safety training. So we struggled in the beginning just getting the word out, and we spent a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort increasing our marketing budget into safety trade magazines, social media, e-blasts, and other marketing materials. We hired additional staff members like graphic designers and social media personnel that really focused on getting the word out about what NASP was all about.
Hey, we just finished day one of the CSM class here in Charleston. Great class, great interaction, great energy, a lot of fun. Excited about what the rest of the week brings, so stay tuned, looking good. So we're on day 2 of our CSM course here in Charleston, South Carolina. Today's going to be pretty exciting. Finish up with adult training methodologies. We're going to have a fun little role playing on what not to do during an OSHA inspection. Then we get into safety management systems and a little hazard communication and chemistry and toxicology to finish out the day. Should be a great day.
So we're getting into incident analysis, right? Formerly referred to as accident investigation. I like this story. This is a story about 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. Sound like your facility?
Every day.
Every day, right? Kind of sounds like mine too. So I would say one of the biggest things that really grew NASP
was the reintroduction of our Certified Safety Manager course in a classroom-style format. For many years, NASP focused on its online presence and was very successful in doing so. When I was hired in 2016, I looked at the fact that we really needed to have a presence back in the classroom market. That's my area of passion. That's what I love doing. So we reintroduced the Certified Safety Manager in a classroom format, and that took off in a big way. So we were holding those classes at least every couple of months, packing out the classes, anywhere from 30 to 45 people per class. And again, the word of mouth on the style of training and what we were all about really started spreading quickly.
So we have our receptionist, we have our not ready for prime time safety manager, and we've got our OSHA inspector here, okay? So without further ado, OSHA inspection process, let's figure out maybe what the safety manager is doing right, maybe what he's doing wrong, what we could do better, then we'll have a conversation afterwards, all right? And go.
I don't know. I mean, I can't, what am I supposed to do here?
Why don't you start with calling your manager?
He's out of town with his mistress. I have no idea how he can touch me.
Wait, I didn't write that in.
Should I call my safety director? He's somewhere.
That would be just fine. I'll wait out here.
Oh, hi, I'm John.
Hi, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you.
Yeah, sure. We're really glad to see you.
Yeah, sure. I'd like to see your manager.
Well, he's out of town, but maybe you can come back next week.
No, we need to proceed today. Who could I speak with as a management representative?
Could you wait just a little while? Let me get ready. I think I've got a memo or some piece of paper that tells me what I'm supposed to do.
Yes, that's acceptable.
What-
But I would like to proceed as quickly as possible.
Well, just have a seat out here, here in the reception area, and I'll be right back.
Well, you hear about the accident yesterday?
No?
What about that chemical release we had last week?
No?
What about the guard? I mean, we keep losing.
No?
You're not going to tell me, are you?
It's a target inspection. It's based on the type of industry you're in.
I can also say that one thing that we really took a look at was our online courses. The information was good with the online courses, but the format was a little dry. And since we pride ourselves as an organization on innovative training and top-of-the-line classroom courses, we did a complete overhaul of our online courses, which took them to a whole new level. Initially, they used to be just downloading a PDF file, reading some information, and taking a test. Nothing wrong with that, but what we wanted to do was make them more dynamic, more interactive. So we implemented a new learning management system that created gamification and reinforcement tools that allowed people to really enjoy and get more information out of these courses other than just reading material. And that led to a lot of increased visibility of our products and services based on the fact that we'd updated our format tremendously.
Does that go with OSHA law? No, it doesn't?
Put it up there.
Yeah, because that didn't come under, or is that under approval?
Some places HR does OSHA laws too, so that's not necessarily.
I hope.
That could be different.
I hope HR do workers' comp.
Yeah, I do too.
If you go to my HR and ask me, I think she's gonna say call me.
I was gonna say what?
She's gonna say call James. She has a report.
You know, that's a great point. There are a lot of safety organizations that do safety training as part of their services. For me, I think the difference is that most safety companies are teaching you regulations, okay? We refer to that as information dumping. They're gonna open up a code of federal regulations and they're gonna read PowerPoints that restate OSHA, EPA, DOT regulations, and I'm telling you, that's gonna put the people to sleep. And that's what we do not do, right? You've got to make safety training relevant to the people who are taking the training.
He picked out that the guy didn't purge his mask immediately. There's always something wrong in these videos.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'll usually stop it and just ask the crowd, did you notice anything that wasn't right there?
Right.
And try to get them to speak up.
No, I agree.
Well, what I've done over the last 10 years is I break, because the advent of YouTube makes getting clips really, really convenient and easy.
Yeah.
Is no more than 3 to 5 minutes. And then, hit the PowerPoint or the lecture part, the questionnaire, and then if there's going to be any more video, another 3 to 5 minutes. And
that's what we do differently. We make it relevant, we make it exciting, we make it fun, we make it dynamic, and we force these students to interact with us so that we know that they are understanding and making changes in the way they think and behave as it pertains to safety. And that, to me, is a huge differentiator between us and our competition. Hey everyone, we just finished up day 2 for the CSM class here in Charleston. Man, it was packed full of information. We covered training methodologies. We finished up who is OSHA. Now we're getting into chemistry and toxicology and the hazard communication standard. Students are kind of reeling with information, but it's been a good day.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of clarification. In this business, I think there's a lot of things you're told by people along the way that you sort of adopt as the gospel. And this class, one thing it does for sure is clear up a lot of that and kind of give you what your goals should really be, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And especially when it comes to training methods, I think everybody's got a style, but this kind of helps keep you in your style, but direct you into pragmatics, format that you can work into your individual style. So I think that's really cool.
I've been to lots of safety trainings, lots of classes like this, and this has been by far the best that I've had in my career. I didn't have any epiphanies, but I have had a lot of reinforcement and a lot of good material. Would highly recommend it thus far to anybody, any safety professional.
The other thing I would say about this too is this is one of the first courses I've been in where I don't realize it's time for a break. I don't realize it's time for lunch. We're moving through things. It's educational and keeps you informed and just kind of into the whole process. So you look down at your clock and the day's already over, which is hard to do in a environment like this. I think that's pretty impressive.
Eric's a fantastic instructor. He keeps your attention. It's the end of the day, and I didn't even realize it was the end of the day. I wasn't looking at my watch. I haven't been counting down the seconds to get to the end of the class. In fact, I was a little disappointed that we were done. I was ready to keep moving.
In addition to nightly homework assignments, students are encouraged to network, build bonds, and discover new ways to apply the lessons they have learned in the class to their careers outside of the class. Careful consideration is taken when choosing live classroom locations. Great restaurants, after-hours entertainment, and comfortable lodging are some of the factors considered when choosing a location for NASP live classes. Students are polled on locations they would like us to visit each year as well. All of these factors are taken into account when live class locations are chosen. Charleston was selected for its beautiful scenery, excellent fine dining, and top-notch hotel accommodations.
So we're on day 3, it's Wednesday, and it's another big day. We've got it chock full of specific regulations today, so we're going to get into finish up hazard communication, do confined space entry, lockout, tagout, probably start on PPE. A lot of information today. Got to keep these students motivated, keep it exciting, keep it jam-packed. Should be a good day. We'll keep you posted.
Okay, so
Michael, will you present for your
what types of duties?
Yes. So that would be part of it, is how identifying the confined spaces and making that determination. In fact, that's what I want to stress in this.
Two?
Recognize any symptoms.
For those of you that aren't familiar with NASP as an organization, our initial goal was to become an IASET accredited provider for continuing education units. So what that means is that all of our courses, both classroom and online, are IASET accredited. That's the highest agency for outside accreditation for individual companies that want to give CEUs. For those of you guys that aren't familiar, a CEU is a continuing education unit. It's an adult training that shows you've had contact hours, right, from an outside accrediting agency. And in turn, you can take those CEUs and switch those to academic credits. The one thing that NASP has done recently is become a Columbia Southern University partner. And what they do is they look at courses that people have taken through NASP, and they will switch those over. They will transfer those to academic credits. So that's a huge undertaking that we finally got passed earlier this year. That's number one. Then number two, it's always been the goal of NASP to provide an alternative certification for individuals that may not have the academic background of somebody that specifically went to college for an OHS degree. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of people that get into OHS that didn't go through a traditional college or academic background. So we spent the last 2.5 years going through the ANAB accreditation process. ANAB is the ANSI National Accreditation Board. That is a third-party accreditation for certifications that you create in-house. It is an endeavor that is extremely involved. And again, it took us 2.5 years, and the final product is 2 professional certifications. The highest level certification that we now have as of June 15th, 2021 is the Master Safety Professional. The lower level tier, and that's based on academic and experiential background, some may not qualify for an MSP, they may have to sit for the CSD. That's the Certified Safety Director. But both of these are exams. This is not training, these are actual exams, and they are focused on practical workplace safety. It's a 150 question test. It's a closed book exam. It's proctored by an outside agency. Okay, it's no joke. It's a tough exam, and you're going to have to study and prep for it accordingly. But it is an alternative to some of our competitors that really, to be honest, their exams are more focused on math, engineering, industrial hygiene, a lot of things that your typical safety director or safety manager doesn't use on a regular basis. But honestly, that was the only certification that was available. So this is now an alternative, and we are excited about this and rolling this out in a big way. So big things to come on that.
Let me ask you this, based on that definition that you gave me on reclassifiable, let's say I have a toluene tank, right? And it's got a side entry into the toluene tank. There's nothing else in it. We're not going to be doing any hot work in it. Would that be a good candidate for a reclassifiable space?
Side entry, how high is it?
Okay, 2 feet.
I would say no.
Why?
Because if you have
fumes, gases, they're gonna rise, and you're not gonna be able to eliminate the vapors up above down when the entry is down low.
To even be more, you're right. Look at your first bullet point.
No potential atmospheric hazards.
Folks, you can't reclassify a space that has flammable, toxic, any kind of bad atmosphere or has the potential for it. That's not even something you go down that road. You can't reclassify it. So what kind of space would be a good reclassifiable space? Say again?
Like a water tank.
Maybe a water tank. I think that might be good.
Space that's got an opening at the top.
Maybe. I'm trying to get a little bit more specific.
Grain silo?
No, because you've got grain silos, you've got the potential for the dust and the engulfment.
Oh, an open top, completely open.
Okay. What I'm getting at is you're looking at spaces where the primary hazards are physical in nature, right? Like lockout, tagout, pneumatic, hydraulic, electrical. If we lock and tag that piece of equipment out and there's no potential for atmospheric hazards, guys, this is a very powerful tool. We use reclassification a lot, okay? It's a way to, I hate to say this, turn that camera off to get around the standard without sacrificing the people's safety.
You might be surprised at my response. I think the one thing that every safety and health professional needs to focus on at their facility or whatever their organization is, whether it's a municipality, whether it's manufacturing, construction, oil and gas, federal, it's communication. I think communication, hands down, is what we lack as safety professionals, because we can be a walking encyclopedia of knowledge on workplace safety, know the federal regulations, know the codes, okay? But we struggle as safety professionals in disseminating that information, getting that information out to the employees, making that accessible, making ourselves approachable. We have to be more approachable as safety professionals and communicate with our employees to get them to have the buy-in that we need to have a successful safety culture. We have to get buy-in from management. We have to get buy-in from employees. They have to be convinced by us through our communication that safety is as important as production, it's as important as quality, it's important as all these other elements, okay? Instead of being the redheaded stepchild that a lot of people look at safety as, hey, it's a necessary evil, we do it because we have to do it, okay? That's a failure on our end as safety professionals from a communication standpoint, and that's what we need to work on.
Make sure the safest space for entry or pre-entry measures have been taken through a written certification. The content on the permit, you have to have the space that's going to be entered, the date, how long you're going to be in that space. You have to designate the roles of the people that are going to be involved in the entry. Hazard controls, you have to verify that the testing, atmospheric testing is done ahead of time. Rescue services have been notified that you're going to be doing an entry. Test all your monitoring equipment, make sure that that's ready to go. You should have spaces on the permit to check off all this stuff that you've done it. Communication procedures, write in the error monitoring results, verify that everybody who's assigned to a role has been trained properly for the role that they're supposed to be doing. During entry, you need to post a permit near the entry point, complete periodic atmospheric testing, monitor for any changes, whether that's atmospheric or mechanical, anything at all that changes. If you have part of a wall that collapses, if a machine turns on, if you find out there's an electrical current going through a wire, anything at all.
That's a good question. I have a lot of proud moments in the safety arena. You know, I think the proudest moments that I have, I've had nice awards and accolades and things like that from companies, and the fact that we just got these new certifications is really nice. But the reward, the most proud that I've ever been, is every time I finish a class, when I get somebody that didn't look thrilled about coming to the class, and they'll come up and say, you know what, Eric, that was the best class I've ever been into. That's the best safety training. That is rewarding. That's what makes it worth it. Or somebody that tells me, hey, you know what, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. I'm going to change the way I'm doing it based on what I learned in your class. If I'm changing safety professionals, or I'm getting attitude adjustments and people looking at the safety training and realizing, hey, you know what, there's room for improvement, and I learned something in this class that I can take back, and bottom line, keep somebody from getting hurt or killed on the job, then that makes me feel really good, and that makes it worth all the while for me.
What's the minimum number of people you need to do a confined space entry?
2, 3.
Two. Right? Because you, as an entrant or attendant, can also be a supervisor, and if you're doing non-entry rescue, you could rescue that person with the tripod, right? So you could do it with 2 people. Is that ideal? No. Okay? In fact, somebody would argue with me, well, what would happen if that tripod failed? Okay, then you got an issue. Maybe we do. Maybe we manhandle that person out of there, get your pair of leathers on, start pulling that guy up with the line and doing the best you can.
Call 911 and do the best you can.
Yeah, that would be part of your rescue plan if that tripod failed.
The overall experience is eye-opening, a little bit mind-blowing. I'm unique in I'm just kind of getting into safety. So a lot of this is a lot of information for me, but I did have some work ahead of time that I did to prepare. So overall, I think it's very good.
So I do environmental health and safety for the company that I'm at. I started in 2012 doing this full time. I do a lot of hazmat, so chemicals, we do warehousing and storage, and I've really gotten into the safety aspect of it in the last 5 years. So I've added that into my repertoire of what I've started doing for the company. Well, honestly, just to have more understanding on the safety side. I've done so much hazardous chemical training, but I haven't done a lot of the safety training. And I saw this at a program that I was at, and it was offered, and I thought, how great is that? And I have to be honest, it's so much more than what I thought it was going to be. The training aspect of it to teach us how to train effectively other employees, that's so much more than what I thought it was going to be, and I'm so glad that it's part of it. I have so many notes that I've already written that I want to take back to my company and say, these are things that we need to work on. Lockout, tagout has been one of them, but I have lots of notes to take back. If I had confined space in our facilities, I have to say this was amazing. I mean, I learned more about confined space than I've ever known. I don't need it for what I do, but if I ever were to need it, I have a great background now in understanding of it.
Awesome. Well, we've got 2 more days left. Is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to? I'm
looking forward to forklift safety. That's 90% of what we do. So I'm hoping to walk away with some feathers in my cap with that and some more understanding possibly that I don't have currently.
Now, is it going to be...
We just finished up day 3, 3 down, 2 to go. A lot of information covered today. I think I might have worn them out a little bit today. So we're going to rejuvenate for Thursday and Friday and wrap it up soon. Stay tuned. Thursday morning, we're starting to near the finish line this week. Today is going to still be jam-packed. We've got a lot to cover. We're going to be doing HAZWOPER, personal protective equipment, JSAs, machine guarding, and finish it out with violence prevention. So it's going to be packed full of information. Looking forward to it. Stay tuned. What is a TSDF?
That's your disposal facilities.
That's right. That's who you're going to send your methyl death to, and they're going to dispose of it in however they do it, right? And a lot of, well, we'll get into it when we get into the HAZWOPER standard. Okay? How did the HAZWOPER standard really come into being? Really, it was built on environmental standards. Okay? Now, a long time ago, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, how did companies dump their hazardous waste? How did they get rid of them?
Buried.
Yeah.
In the rivers.
They buried it, they dumped it, and it was technically legal. We are a full-service safety and environmental consulting and training firm. We really specialize in a lot of the train-the-trainer type courses for safety managers and other safety professionals. We focus on andragogical training methodologies, which means training for adults. So that in a nutshell is what we do. That's both classroom style format as well as online training. And we've built up quite a reputation as being the leader in safety training for those reasons.
But usually, so this hurts but it heals. It's a sunburn, we don't measure it. Second, third, fourth. Third-degree burns are way worse than second-degree burns. But why are we concerned about both of them? Why are they linked to survivability? Infection. Bingo, bingo. Because granted, third-degree burns, you're looking at skin grafting, but second-degree burns breaks the skin. If you have a large enough second-degree burn over the body, it's an infection pattern. Because typically that's what happens when someone has an arc flash incident, their clothing catches on fire, and they survive. You know, they don't die on the spot from shock or inhaling superheated air because they're on fire. Typically, what happens is they get to the hospital, they stabilize. But unfortunately, times 4 or 5 weeks go down the line, downhill, infection.
So again, with the online courses, we really want to focus on how that course is going to affect, how it's going to impact the user. Because you're right, anybody can take an online course, but is it going to make them change the way they do their job? Is it going to make them focus on the safety aspects of their position? So we really spent a lot of time and effort in creating these courses that, for lack of a better term, tend to change behavior, because that is the name of the game. A lot of people don't like to use the terms behavior modification, but that's the bottom line, is changing the attitudes and behaviors based on your training styles and methodologies, and that's what NASP prides itself on. So that's an online perspective. And then in classroom courses like the CSM, I would venture to say we are hands down probably the best training organization out there when it comes to safety training. And that's not me tooting my horn, that is a formula that we use. And again, it encompasses the concept of andragogy, which is training adults. And what do we mean by that? That's everything from the setup of the classroom to the interaction between the instructor and the students, where there's a lot more student interaction with problem solving, gamification, reviews. I would say probably the biggest thing that we do differently is utilizing humor in the class. I can actually say that our classes are fun, they're exciting, and that's why people flock to these courses, to get the training methodologies that they can take back with them to their facility and implement for their employees. As a team, we're going to take this, we're going to hold our fingers out like this, about right here, square with your shoulders, and as a team, everybody's going to have their fingers on, 3 of you facing this way, 3 of you facing the other. The rule is that as a team, we're going to take it from right about here
to right about down here without somebody's finger not touching the pole. The bottom line is this: you've got to change the way you train to make people change the way they behave when it comes to safety training. So we have an arsenal of tools that we use that include the things that I just described. Count of 3, you're gonna go, and you're gonna go down without, okay?
You can't talk to each other?
Yeah, you can talk to each other, sure. Michael, come up. Michael, come up here and make sure nobody's got their fingers off of them here. And I'm gonna go down this end. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh,
Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Go down an inch.
Keep those fingers straight.
Go down an inch. Go down an inch. Everybody go down an inch.
Everybody start coming down.
Yeah.
All right, let's start over again. Let's go back down. I wouldn't necessarily say they are awards. The fact that in the last 2 years, we've been accredited both as a training organization by IASET and also a certification organization by ANAB. To my knowledge, there's maybe one other organization in the world that has dual accreditations for both CEUs and certifications. So to me, that's a pretty good achievement, and that I'm pretty proud of.
Pretty similar to part 2. We forgot the drink beer part 2, but we'll add that.
Start with that.
So yeah, that's true. Number 1. So number 1, review equipment, the location of the area. Obviously, with that, shock, contact with, struck by. So we're going to check our tools and equipment, make sure they're in good shape before we start. Any type of digging, call 811, which I know most of the groups have mentioned that.
So we just finished up day 4, Thursday. We're starting to wind down for the week. We covered a lot of territory today. The class has been great. They've been excited and really participatory. So we wind it up tomorrow, and we're looking forward to another great day. So we are finally on day 5. It's been an exciting and fun week. We've learned a lot. Great class so far. Got a few more topics to wrap up this morning. Then the students do their presentations. They've been working hard this week. So I'm excited to see what they have to offer. Looking forward to it.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about electricity, both in general and in the workplace. And we're going to go over the positives and the negatives of it. See what I did there? So what is electricity? By definition, electricity is the transfer of electrons from a power source. In this case, we'll say it's battery. Positives and negatives. You're going to transfer the electrons up to, in this case, your light bulb. And then it comes back down to the power source. So that transfer of electrons goes from the power source through the circuit and then back down. So now we've got power to our light bulb.
Safety is one of those, there's so much territory to cover. So as an organization, we can't be everything to everybody. But what we can do is expand on some of our certifications. I mentioned the MSP and the CSD earlier. Those really are focused primarily on general industry standards. We really want to expand the territory because I feel like there is not a lot for construction safety managers. So our next goal is to have certifications specifically designed for construction safety managers. So that would be regulatory aspects of the 1926 standards and just more geared and focused in general for construction.
So before we get into this, we talked about components and regulations for how things need to be maintained. We've talked about circuit interrupters. What's the one theme that has kind of been prevalent throughout everything we talked about so far? The purpose, I guess, for each one of those items we talked about. Anybody want to take a guess?
Keep folks safe.
Prevention, right? So let's talk a little bit about what happens when it doesn't work or when it breaks down. So we have to identify locations in our facilities based on a couple of factors. In these cases, some of these locations we refer to as hazardous locations. These locations are identified by the substance that's present, which you can see listed in the first column there on the left: gases, dusts, and vapors, and that classifies them as class 1s, class 2s, and class 3s. And then, of course, by the concentrations present and the frequency of those concentrations being present in those areas, which is how you get the Div 1s, Div 2s, etc.
I also see a big need for an environmental certification. That's, again, maybe for people that didn't grow up and get an environmental degree, but they have been dubbed as environmental managers of their facilities, and they need a professional designation with emphasis in environmental, because I'm going to tell you, there's a few out there, but there are not very many environmental professional designations that would help environmental professionals that tend to wear several hats in their facility. You got a lot of managers that are environmental, health, and safety, and they need additional certifications to show that they're competent and confident to do their job, that they have the knowledge, skills, and abilities, and that's next on our list to go out and get those certifications.
I kind of got pushed into the safety field. It wasn't my initial career. And I was really nervous coming here, but Eric was awesome. Every question I had, he was willing to answer, always willing to take the time to answer them. The course was real easy to follow. Definitely the best course I've been to in the past 3 years that I've been trying to learn how to do this.
Well, initially, I'm a certified safety professional, and part of my role within my organization is to help build folks and train them up and show them kind of what safety management systems is all about. So I was really looking for something more than just kind of your standard OSHA 30-hour kind of a track. You know, those programs are great, but they're very limited in a lot of respects. And we just needed something more. And we were also looking at, obviously, BCSP, but at that point in time, you know, it's a lot of folks that's just kind of not in their career path at that moment in time. So we really were looking for something that kind of fit in the middle, but was at the same level in terms of content, flexibility, giving them the scope of the things that they need to know as safety managers in the 21st century. So I came here to evaluate, brought one of my folks, and sat the course and was very, very impressed. You know, just with the overall content, the way the course was delivered. In a 5-day format, it's tough. You know, any kind of format is really, really tough to go over that much stuff in 5 days. But I have to say, I'm very impressed with the way NSP pulled all this off.
I thought it was great. I mean, for a full week class, I thought it went by fairly quickly. Honestly, I enjoyed the interaction and the networking. The time that Eric gave us to network with other safety professionals was great, and I'll take a lot away from it for sure.
Well, I'm kind of still where I was before. I continue to be impressed with the presentation, keeping it lively, keeping it interactive, and kind of the passing of time. It's a long class. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday, and 8 to 3 on Friday, and that makes for a long week. Not to mention, I've had some other things going on this week that made it longer, but I continue to be impressed by how the class moves along, stays interesting, keeps you engaged, keeps you involved, plus a ton of information. I don't know how I'm managing to retain as much as I am, but it's probably in part to the presentation methods and things like that, but it's a really good class.
Overall, it was great. It was very informative. I learned a lot, being that I have not that much knowledge in the safety realm, but I'm studying. So I would say it was very informative.
All right, so you came to our Confined Space Rescue Train the Trainer a while back.
Yes.
I talked to you there. You really liked that class. Mm-hmm. How does this class compare with that?
Completely different, but both just as informative and as enjoyable. I mean, we covered different things in here for Confined Space, but nothing like the in detail and the practical of the other class. Whereas this one was a lot more informative on a number of different subjects, which I find incredibly valuable.
Would you recommend it to others?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm excited to bring this to a lot more folks, and I highly encourage anybody that's interested in training their people up and mentoring their people in safety, health, and management systems to take a look at NASP.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's worth every penny. You see the price, and it's kind of hard to convince your boss, but the stuff you take away from here is invaluable.
Absolutely, would 100% recommend this course to others.
Oh yes, definitely, without question.
All right.
I'll be back for another course sometime.
So we just finished up day 5 of our week-long CSM course, and man, this one was a doozy. It was a great crowd from all over the United States, a lot of different disciplines, construction, general industry, service industry, governmental entities, a lot of people represented, and everybody had a great time. Looks like the feedback was really good. I'd say, the thing that I like about these courses the most is the fact that these folks build up a camaraderie amongst one another. I know that they're going to be reaching out as fellow safety professionals and using each other as resources, and that's the name of the game in this business, is to grow from an education perspective and be there for one another, because let's face it, safety is probably not the most well-liked portion of your manufacturing companies and that sort of thing. So the support that we get from one another is really key to our success. And I just also want to say thank you to all of our customers and clients that really make NASP the successful organization that it is, because we honestly couldn't do it without you. And we've got such fierce loyalty with our customers and our clients. I love that. That's what makes me get up and be passionate about the job that I do, is the fact that everybody cares so much about what we do as a company and helping us grow and helping us thrive. So stay safe and enjoy yourself and stay in touch. Thank you so much.
We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive of NASP as an organization, as well as a behind-the-scenes look at our Certified Safety Manager course. Our goal as an organization is to provide you with the absolute best safety training on the market, training which will truly inspire employees to reimagine safety as a value within their company, and be a part of a positive organizational change which ultimately leads to a safer workplace. Our CSM course has become known throughout the world, and we trust that this video has provided some insight into why. With the proven NASP method, you can ensure that your training will be dynamic, engaging, and most of all, effective. It's why we tell people, you don't attend our classes, you experience them.